Let's welcome back to the show former State Department official Christian Whiton. Christian, it's great to see you again. Can you help us break this down? Okay, President Biden telling the leader of Ukraine the U.S. will have a decisive response if Russia invades. But then we have the Office of the Director of National Intelligence reporting that China and Russia are now more aligned than at any point in the past 60 years. How does this affect geopolitics like in areas like Ukraine?
Well, finally, our $80 billion a year intelligence community is starting to recognize the risk of China and Russia together in some Eurasian political condominium arrayed against us. That would be very, very bad. You have China, which is the world's second largest economy, largest population. If it were in cahoots with Russia, which is the world's either largest or second largest nuclear arsenal, all of its military prowess spanning, 11, 12 time zones, it's just not good for the United States. It's been our de facto policy, at least it was throughout the Cold War, try and keep those two powers apart. And this is something that Biden has not addressed in all of this sort of promising to Ukraine that we will help them in their strife with Russia, was whether or not a U.S. interest may exist that it's actually, better that Ukraine maybe be neutral and we not antagonize Russia to the extent we're doing.
But the White House is saying don't read too much into this, right? They're cautioning against that. They're saying it's not going to flower into a full military alliance. But right when the White House was botching the exit from Afghanistan, reports coming in that China and Russia, they executed military drills in northwestern China, the first to use a joint Russian-Chinese command and control setup. So that is a concern, no?
That's right. It is. It should be. And they've also done other things together that previously would have been pretty unheard of, including exercises in the Arctic and the North Pacific near Japan. This is something that's real. It's something that's been discounted, though, by our foreign policy establishment, apparently including President Biden. He needs to address the nation and say what U.S. interests exist in Ukraine that we are really willing to go to the edge of war with Russia. I mean, this is not invading Panama or Grenada. This is a country with a serious serious grievances, too, that thinks we've broken promises in Eastern Europe regarding Ukraine and NATO.
So right when China and Russia is tightening their alliance, let me back up. Is this going to be a national security problem for the U.S.? We have major societal unrest in our countries who are allies overseas in places like Germany. We're seeing that in the Netherlands. We're seeing police using dogs and beating protesters who are against government shutdowns, against government lockdowns with batons. How does this affect U.S. policy?
Well, we have a military that can't win wars. It kills me to say that, but it's true. I mean, if you look at Afghanistan, if you look at Syria, if you look at Libya, if you look at really everything that's happened recently, you have both parties. Republicans, of course, still want to give more and more money to the Pentagon, $775 billion this year. They say it's too little. That's actually more than the Reagan defense buildup, the peak budgets of the Cold War, if you gross them up for inflation. So, we have a military that seems in a foreign policy establishment that wants to fight the wrong war with the wrong enemy in the wrong place at the wrong time. We do not need to go to war with Russia. We shouldn't. Our big enemies, our big concerns are China. They're the ones who can really end the United States, alter our way of life. Yeah. Iran and North Korea are also threats. But we have to pick and choose priorities.
We also have this, our U.S. troops being let go from the Army, the Air Force, the Marines for not being vaccinated. We have a lot of armchair critics out there saying they should man up and get vaccinated. These armchair critics who have never lifted a finger to fight for our country, right? So what is your reaction to that story when you see the criticism of our troops saying, no, we're not going to get vaccinated?
Right. This is a keyboard warriors at their finest, criticizing people who are actual warriors. Listen, these young Marines, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Space Force members, these are people in the prime of their physical life. By definition, they meet a high physical standard. A huge portion of the force is vaccinated. It would actually be very good in our national interest to have a lot of others have natural immunity in case, we want to have maximum combat readiness. And who knows where the pandemic goes from here. To kick these people out just based on ideology, I mean, that's what it is. It's politics. It's not science.